What's up YouTube, it's Nico77025. I'm here to show off my latest version of my elevator. This particular elevator goes to nowhere, but it is a working elevator with buttons inside, 8 floors. It has call buttons on each floor. I think I'm actually going to make this into 2, maybe 3 videos, probably just 2. I'm going to try to explain as much as I can, why I did what, and what's best, and, just explain how the logic of everything works. Anyhow, let's go ahead and start. As you can see, there are 8 floors. I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate the call button, and we're going to call it to the 3rd floor. One thing you'll note is there's a little bit delay in the doors closing. I can't figure out a way around that. However, this time versus my old elevators, the doors do not open until it actually gets to the floor that it is supposed to be on. There we go. It got to the 3rd floor, which is the orange floor, and they opened. And also it is done with pistons doing iron blocks this time versus actual doors just opening and closing. Let's see. Let's go to the top floor. Actually, that's too far away. Let's go ahead and we'll go to the second to the top floor. There's the delay, but it closes. And now no other doors will open until we get to the yellow floor. I guess we could have went ahead and went to the green floor. But as you can see, this is the actual elevator right here. I actually should have probably just built this on a different map because I have so much stuff going on in the background. It's kind of getting a little bit laggy. I'm getting about 30 frames per second with fraps right now while I'm recording. It's normally like, it's 50, 60 frames now. And it made it to the yellow floor. Each floor is individually wired to go to where it needs. We'll get to that in a minute. Again, it works flawlessly other than it's a little bit slow, but it's an actual elevator, but elevators aren't fast in general anyway. I redesigned a few different things. It got to the level that it was, which was the cyan level. And again, if I do a call button down here, this is a call button, this is a different panel versus the, it will bring it to it. So if you were on floor 1 and the elevator was on the top floor, you press a button and it'll bring it, The only problems there are, which in a way this is kind of a major problem and I don't see a way around it as of yet, you can't press multiple buttons at the same time. So if the elevator is doing its thing right now and somebody came in and pressed a button, it would kind of mess it up. I gotta figure out a way to throw in a kill switch, which I think you can do with piston and a cable, and just have, like basically whenever these motors are running, whenever it's got an action, a frame would come in and pull away the cable, breaking it so no more information can be sent. And then once it's done, it replaces the cables that it broke away, and it would then, work as specified. There's a delay in sound. I guess it just landed and, it takes it a few seconds to open. The first thing I will note is when you start with your elevator, first and foremost, make sure you are in a chunk. As you can see, the elevator, the working part of the frames, you want to make sure that they're all in one chunk, because if, say, this elevator was right here and it's in between these 2 chunks, this is, not just elevators, this has to do with frames in general. They can lag and it can definitely get out of sync and mess it up. I had I was actually working on this 8 floor elevator before, but I made a 4-story one, and it worked fine. But the next one I actually made it in the line of the 2 chunks, and I got it pretty much all done, but it would get out of sync at times, and man, that just pissed me off because that was a lot of damn work. So definitely want to make sure this part of it, the frame part, everything that has to do with frames is all in the same chunk. So that's rule number 1 when, working with frames, I guess, in general. Those boards back there, we'll get to those later, and these boards here, those don't have to be in the same frames because the information is sent through the wires, and it doesn't get mismatched like the frames will if they're different. The second thing is you want to start building the frame of the elevator itself, whichever uses the frames, the box, because that's going to determine a few things. It's going to determine however big your box is and however many buttons you have on it. It's going to determine the interior workspace, and plus it's also going to determine how many counts up your building needs to be. And once you get your frame of your elevator, determined how big it is and how much space it's going to need, you want to figure out the floors. So for this elevator to go up 1 floor, it's actually 9 blocks. So I have to send my motors, pulses of 9s, intervals of 9, 9 or 18 or 36, whatever the math are. Like here, I'll go show you the math just real quick. My floor 1 is actually blue floor. Floor 2 is light blue, orange. So these are my floors here. And then, to go up 1 floor is 9 blocks. To go up 2 floors is 18 blocks, 27, because it's in intervals of 9s. It's the same thing for down, it's just negatives. And I needed that for, laying out all these AND gates, which we'll get to in a little bit. But like I said, so we have, this is, after you found the chunk that you want to build that, then you kind of want to frame out the building to make sure, you're not messing up, and, you want to count and make your floors even, because they have to be even. You can't go up 9 blocks and then want to go up 5 more blocks. It's just not going to work like that. The other thing is I've changed out how the bottom of it works. There was a few AND gates, or I think there was 1 AND gate, but this AND gate now controls the floor that it's on, and it also controls the door opening mechanism. I guess I'll get into the wiring next. The wiring is actually, there are 3 sets of wires here. You got the internal button wires, which, each wire has its own, basically, blue, light blue, orange, keep those all color coded, according to the floor. But that is, button wires are for yellow. I don't know what the hell that sound was. Why did that just open? Huh. I think that was an audio bug. I don't think anything open. There's no reason for it to, or close, excuse me. Anyhow, like I was saying, there's 3 sets of cable. There's the brown cable, the yellow cable, and the pink cable. The yellow cable is my button cables. The buttons do not change per floor, so in every position it's going to be the same. Cyan, purple, yellow, green, and so forth. And that coordinates with the buttons on the inside. This pink cable here is the call buttons, and it matches the floor that it's on, but it's in the pink cable. You know, you don't want brown, yellow or pink bundled cables touching each other because they will corrupt each other's signals and confuse it. Don't want that. And then there is the brown cable, which is actually the way that it tells what floor it's on. You know, so this is the lime green because it's on lime green floor, which matches the call signal and it matches the floor it's on. And basically, once you have this here, this is your main cable because it's going to share the information with the call panels, and the call panels pink and the elevator panels, and that's how you get your variables. It uses and switches to determine, you know, so like, you know, magenta, let's say orange floor, so you're on orange floor and you get a magenta signal, you know, it says, hey, orange and magenta equal, and you know, you have to calculate it out, you know, and that's where the math and all that comes, and that tells it how many times it needs to go down or up depending on where it's at. The doors itself, as you can see, this is the pistons. These are the only two that move. I placed a line of iron blocks, so when you're going up it all kinds of looks the same and you can't tell which ones are doors until it opens, you know. That's the best way I could figure out to do it. Anyhow, these pistons, as you can see, they're always closed, so that way they only open whenever the elevator gets to their floor and these motors are not running. If the motors are running or the elevator's not on the floor, the doors won't open, period. I have a toggle switch set up. I have future plans for this build, and that's going to be a alternate way to open up it so you can get in the elevator shaft. You know, I plan on making this an adventure map, and you know, I'm going to do some stuff to where, you know, people can go around and play around in the city. This is the inverter gate, and it's basically keeping the pistons on. This here is a AND switch, and this is the conditional that is set. These are identical on every floor. Basically, once it gets a wireless signal from 777, it says safe doors. That means that the motors aren't running. So that condition would then be met, which it's met right now. It's this middle one. This one on this side here on the right, looking at it, is actually turned off. So this redstone torch here has no meaning in this calculation at all. The middle one, like I said, is the motors running, which the motors aren't running, so it has a signal. And then this one here is the floor indicator. It is not on this floor, so it is not active, which won't activate this and invert it to turn off the pistons and let the door open. I don't know why I am hearing this here. I don't know what's going on. I gotta look at that. I might have set my timer up. I just redid my timer at the bottom to make it look prettier. So that's the doors, and as you can see, we're on this floor here, so the doors are open. To give you an idea, this here is a NAND gate, which means it's always on, and that just gives me a constant signal. This signal splits two ways. One, it goes here and it activates the brown cable, so it tells the mouth calculations that it's on floor blue. Also, at the same time, this AND gate, you know, this AND gate is basically the controller of or the locator for the elevator. It goes into this bundled cable, or excuse me, red jacketed cable, and it goes in. And as you can see, on this particular floor, all the conditionals are met. It's got a signal saying that the motors are off. It's got a signal saying that it's on the floor. So it has inverted the signal and allowed the pistons to open. So that's how that works. And then past video, I always do a shaft. It's just easier. In the past, I used 2, and it works great for the most part. The one problem I had is my shaft would get so far down that it would hit, and that would stop it. That took me a while to figure out, and so I basically set it up to whenever it gets a down signal, it also, which is this one here, whenever it gets a down signal, these 2 motors get a down signal, they also break a block. That block, that's a block breaker, and it just shoots it back into this here, which is an assembler, and every time it goes up a level, it deploys a block, or a frame, I should say. Another thing, I have added 2 frame motors to each side, so there's 2 going up, 2 going down. They each only move at 1, but what this allows is, because this map that I've been working on, it has so much stuff, it's kind of gotten laggy. Whenever the frames get off track, they get out of sync from tick rate or whatever, with it having 2, it never loses, it never pushes up an empty block or anything like that. So it's just kind of backup. It's not necessary for the most part, but if your server or map is laggy from a bunch of stuff, 2 would actually help, ensure that it's not gonna, there's no reason not to do 2 other than the cost of the motor itself if you're playing for real. This is my creative map, so the cost was not important. This again is my counter board. This is basically determining the counts per floor. The white panel is up, the black panel is down like before, and it's getting its signal from a cyan cable from that. I left this all opened because you build from back to forward, so you build from that way to this way, and it's kind of a bitch to go back and tear it. So I left all this space, so if I wanted to add more floors, I can do that. So this here, I've just set up in the color order of the colors itself. Like if you look up wool, it goes white, orange, magenta, light blue. As you can see, white, orange, magenta, light blue. So that way it's just easy to remember. I started it off, like I said, each floor is 9, so this counter here goes up 9, and it has a decrement of 9 and an increment of 1. So basically, whenever the math equals a white signal, that means go up 1. So like, or go up 9, which is 1 floor. So like right now, it's on the light, or it's on the blue level, floor 1, and if it wants to go up to floor 2, it needs to go up 9 spots, which would be the white cable. If it needed to go up 2 floors, it would use an orange signal, because 9 and 9 is 18. If it needed to go up 3 floors, that's 27. And you always want this 27 and this, the maximum count and the decrement to be the same. The increment is always 1. This here is the same exact thing as this one. These are duplicate boards. It's just this one is white to remind me that it needs a white signal going out, which goes to the up motors, and This one is black, saying that it needs to go to the down motors. Now, I said exactly the same, and that's actually incorrect. It is pretty much exactly the same, except you got to label, you know, your colors are going to be different because you can't share colors with these. So that's the only difference. That information is got through this. Now, like I said, our 3 signals were pink, yellow, and brown bundled cables. As you can see, they all go in here. The yellow ones are the elevators, so this side is all elevator math. This was call signals for the outside, you know, the call buttons. So this is all call button math. And the brown is the level indicator, which actually goes in the middle. You know, I have it splitting up 2 ways, and it's fine that it's, you know, shared because it's just telling it what level it's on. As you can see, it goes in, the brown goes in here, and it comes out the floor here, and it goes up, and it activates each thing. This brown signal is separate from this yellow and pink, but it is, you know, just giving it the level indicator. So this is the blue board, so everything brown coming out here is actually turning into a blue signal because it's on the blue floor. So this is basically the blue board, meaning that all the calculations for the blue floor are done on this panel for the elevator. This blue board is for the call button. And as you can see, if you're on the blue level, which is the first floor, and you get a light blue signal from the elevator, yellow is elevator, it says light blue and, excuse me, blue floor and elevator says to go to light blue. That gives you a white signal. A white signal, as we looked before on the counter, shoots down into the cyan cable, which goes all the way down there, and it finds white, which is up 9. So that's 1 floor. And a good way to keep track of this is by, you know, basically this is a chart. I know that floor 1 is dark blue, floor 2 is light blue, orange, and so this is a copy of my building there. And if I wanted to go, if I'm on floor 1 and I want to go to floor 3, so I got to go up to 1, 2, right? So if I want to go up 2 floors, that means I need to go up 18 blocks. And you know, you just calculate your math and you can, you know, put this in world. I think it's easier to do in world instead of just looking at paper. So whenever I'm, you know, trying to play stuff, I can just look back here and figure it out. You know, it's nice and simple. This one, as you can see, is identical to this one. Both these boards are identical because I've used all the same cables for everything. The only thing that changes is this is a pink signal from the call button panel, and this is a yellow signal from the elevator itself. Again, all that information, whenever it's calculated, it comes out on this side, and it goes into a cyan bundled cable. As you can see, all these are shared, you know, and it all comes here. It's the cyan information, so say we got a white one, or whatever it was, you know. It doesn't have to be white always, I'm just saying. And it follows it all the way down here, and the only place it can go is to this board, and it says, hey, count it, you know, do 9 pulses. So it gives it 9 ticks. This here is a buffer gate. So basically, if I get a white signal from that, it doesn't go in here and mess with that timer or anything. I was having some fluctuation, so I just added buffer gates. I don't think they're necessary. I think it's my lag for this level itself. And the buffer gate, you know, then gives a signal to the motor saying, hey, you know, you get a pulse, go. And then, you know, the counter, you know, it says 9 pulses. So it goes in there. This timer just keeps giving it a increment there. So that's how that works. If you want to just look. If you notice my counters, I have the plus side up in the top left corner with a line going through the middle. There's red ally wire connecting these, and then these yellow right here are golden strips. I try to use the same thing all the time, so that way I can, you know, I just know by looking at it, a golden strip means I'm trying to block this off. I had that for protection for other things. At the same time, this white signal, you know, the white signal is saying go up, but it's also going into this NOR gate. The black one is doing the same thing. The black is saying go down whenever it's active, but it goes to this NOR gate. And this simply states that if neither one of these have a signal, then you're on. If either one have a signal, then you're off. And if you're off, it deactivates this inverter, which turns on this line, and turning on this line will stop this timer. Stopping this timer will stop the cell state, which will turn off this line here. And if this is off, the door safe signal is turned off, and so the doors can't open no matter what. So like if I was to break this right here, the doors are now shut because there's no 7-7 signal. So if we go over here, you can see that there is no 7-7 signal, and the AND gate doesn't meet its conditions, so the door is shut. Whenever I replace this wire, the doors will open, and the doors are now open because they have a, hey, these motors aren't running. And that's the gist of it. It didn't take me as long as I thought. I might be able to fit this in one video. If you have any questions, just post them. I think I did a better job of explaining it this time than last time. That's pretty much it. I guess I do, well, I say I plan on making this into a map, an adventure map, you know, like a arena PvP or something like that. But I'm probably not going to get to it because I've actually gotten into the FTB launcher mod pack, Feed the Beast mod pack. It's just, you know, first of all, it supports the modders. Second of all, there's a lot of better mods in it. The only thing that's holding me back right now is Feed the Beast does not have Redpower. It's not Feed the Beast's fault. It's just Redpower is not out for 1.4.2 for Minecraft. LRAM's working on that, and whenever she gets that out, I will probably be working with whatever new stuff she's got. Another thing I should note is when the new Redpower comes out, I will be changing this elevator design drastically. I will remove all these buttons, and it's going to be a computer. Just one little computer. It'll probably be Redpower 2 computer. And you'll click on the computer itself, and it'll open up, and it will send out an information. So you'll actually be able to replace all this wiring and all this wiring with one computer and one ribbon cable going all the way up, and that ribbon cable will go down to a computer. It'll actually, I said it'll be a computer in there, but it'll be a monitor, which will be attached to a ribbon cable, which will be attached to a computer down here, and that computer will then send out the red power cable signals or whatever. Anyhow, if you like it, share it with some friends. If I can get 500 views on this video, I will post the actual save file to this, and you can come and mess with this elevator. Anyhow, this is Miko77025. Thank you for watching.